beinhaltet ja auch eine große Angst hier in Europa zu dieser Islamisierung, die immer mehr stattfindet. Wie wollen Sie Europa in dieser Hinsicht und unsere Kultur schützen?
Ich glaube erst einmal, dass der Islamismus und der islamistische Terror leider Erscheinungen sind, die wir ganz stark natürlich in Syrien haben, in Libyen haben, im Norden des Irak haben, aber zu denen leider die Europäische Union eine Vielzahl von Kämpfern beigetragen hat. Und wir können nicht sagen, das ist ein Phänomen, das uns nichts angeht, sondern es sind zum Teil Menschen, oft sehr junge Menschen, die in unseren Ländern aufgewachsen sind und wo wir auch unseren Beitrag leisten. Und drittens, wir haben diese Debatte natürlich auch, dass wir sehr viele Muslime in Deutschland haben. Wir haben die Debatte darüber, ob der Islam zu Deutschland gehört. Wenn man 4 Millionen Muslime hat, finde ich, braucht man nicht darüber zu streiten, ob jetzt die Muslime zu Deutschland gehören und der Islam nicht oder ob der Islam auch zu Deutschland gehört.
Yes, you heard that right, folks. According to the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, Islam belongs to Germany. After all, there's already 4 million Muslims residing in the country. So, hey, what's another 1.5 million, right? What's the worst that could happen? Now, Angela Merkel is not the only one to express this sentiment. Many tolerant and progressive Germans are celebrating this recent influx of third world refugees as well. They've been hosting welcoming rallies for them, singing songs for them, hell, even getting tattoos to signal how multicultural they are to their friends and co-workers. You know, in more sobering times of human history, getting a bunch of kids tattooed on the back of your neck meant that the FBI were planning on raiding your house and searching your hard drive. Now it just means that you're culturally enriched. And even though we're witnessing a historic event that will fundamentally alter the demographic composition of Europe, it's the current year. And nobody in the current year should have an opinion that conflicts with multiculturalism. No, anyone who doesn't want to see German culture and traditions disappear into the footnotes of history is probably a bigot, a Nazi, or Islamophobic. In the past several months, we have seen these Islamophobic groups like Pegida or the Patriotic Europeans against the Islamization of the West rallying in cities like Leipzig, Stuttgart, and Dresden. You better watch out, Pegida. We all know what happened the last time a bunch of intolerant Nazis gathered in Dresden. I hope you guys brought your fire blankets. So what are these intolerant anti-immigration protesters so upset about? What's gotten them so riled up? Well, last month it was announced that Germany was accepting applicants for 800,000 migrants. No identification or background check required. As long as you have a pair of trousers and a pulse, you too can become a German citizen. This was concerning enough, but last week an article in the German magazine Bild suggested that the actual number of accepted refugees would be more like 1.5 million, almost double the initial amount. In case you don't know, that's almost a 2% increase in the total population. That's fucking unprecedented. But that's not even taking into consideration the fact that once these refugees become German citizens, they will no doubt bring their remaining family members from their countries of origin to Germany as well. So over the next 5 years, we're going to see an explosion in the number of foreigners infiltrating Germany. Now bear in mind that most of these migrants choose to come to Germany rather than, say, Serbia, Bulgaria, or Albania, not because they have an affinity for German culture or the German people. Hell, I'm sure Bulgarians are just as friendly, but because Germany has a more generous welfare state, these refugees want their Gibbs me dats. Now, just think, what is this going to do to the German infrastructure and economy to have millions of foreigners who are rent-seeking off of German productivity? I can tell you what will happen, but I don't think you want to know. So even if we don't consider the threat of terrorists like ISIS sneaking in amongst the refugees, or the fact that many of these refugees are trashing the European countryside and causing public disturbances, I would say that the German people have legitimate grievances. They just don't want to see their country bent over a desk and paused. I can have sympathy with that. But does Angela Merkel listen to the concerns of her people? No, quite the opposite. As you have just witnessed from that clip at the beginning of this video, she believes that the German people are partially responsible for this crisis. Merkel and the German government are now even trying to silence those who speak out against this grave injustice. Recently, the founder of Pegida, a man named Lutz Bachmann, was charged with inciting racial hatred after Facebook posts emerged where he referred to migrants as livestock, junk, and scum. More recently, at a rally in October 2015, Bachmann said that all asylum seekers are criminals. Now, regardless of what you may think of Mr. Bachmann's choice of words, whether you find them to be in poor taste or not, being arrested for calling someone junk hardly seems reasonable in a supposedly democratic society. But you'd be kidding yourself if you think that Bachmann is the only victim of this mass censorship scheme. Even though we live in the age of the internet, where publicly voicing an opinion is as easy as drawing breath, it appears as though these authoritarian fucks in the German government are trying to censor speech online as well. Last month, the German Minister of Justice, Heiko Maas, sent a letter to Facebook demanding the social media site automatically remove xenophobic content, saying that it is a farce that Facebook deletes, for example, nude photos, but lets xenophobic views remain. That's right, Deutschland. Post all the dick pics you want. Just don't you fucking dare disagree with the government. That's not all, though. Angela Merkel has been recently overheard on Hot Mic, urging Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg to take action against users who express discontent about the migrant situation. To which Zuckerberg responded, "Yeah, it doesn't get much more ominous than that, folks." Now, understandably, this task of going through everyone's Facebook profile and deleting hateful and racist comments is a lot of work. Hell, even the NSA can't be bothered with that shit. So the German government has appointed an organization called Network Against Nazis to be granted this very special responsibility. This Network Against Nazis is led by a woman named Annette Kahan, who, wouldn't you know, is also a former secret agent of the East German secret police, known as the Stasi. So, yeah, not only is Germany going the way of the Soviet Union, but they're even bringing on some of the old Soviets for the ride. It's a shame that Lavrenti Beria wasn't still alive. Just to give you a sense of who Annette Kahan is and what she believes, let's watch this video, shall we?
You have to really make a good policy of immigration all over Europe, and we see this, that the history of Europe, with this long history of nationalism and small countries, is now getting into a crisis. So this will need a long time to make it better, but you have to confront this. You have to really change the policy of immigration inside Europe. This is very important. You have to adapt the educational system and adapt all the self-understanding of the states. They are not anymore only white or only Swedish or only Portuguese or only German. They are multicultural places in the world.
What? Germany is not for Germans? Did she just really say that? Damn, I could only imagine the catastrophic Jimmy wrestling that would ensue if someone said the same thing about India, China, or South Africa. Imagine if you said that Namibia was no longer for Namibians. The left would fucking crucify you. But when you say that Germany is no longer for the Germans, the German government gives you a cushy office job censoring Facebook posts. I guess we're not supposed to understand it. Maybe some things just never meant to make sense. But what I do know is that there is an element of guilt motivating the German government to do these things. Nothing happens in a vacuum, we have to remember, and we should consider past events if we are to make any sense of current ones. So as you all may know, from about 1933 till 1945, Germany was under the rule of a certain Bohemian corporal, who was not very welcoming to, shall we say, foreigners. And since this Bohemian corporal was done away with, there has been a considerable effort by the German government and the German people to distance itself from the legacy of this Bohemian corporal. So I can see why Angela Merkel's government might feel a little compulsion, perhaps guilt, to enact these censorship policies. But let me just remind you of a very famous quote by another German. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with this quote, since pretty much every angsty teenager has scribbled it into his notebook at some point. It's by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, and it goes something like this. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster, and if thou gaze long into an abyss, the abyss will also gaze into thee. It's become obvious that Merkel's Germany has become the very monster it has been trying to fight against. In their struggle to eliminate intolerance and authoritarianism from Germany, they have given birth to a degree of authoritarianism that would not be out of place in the Third Reich. Angela Merkel has not only gazed into the abyss, but she has jumped headfirst into it, and she is dragging all of Germany with her.